What is your favorite paradox? Daddy, I am not sleepy yet. Can you tell me a bedtime paradox? The bootstrap paradox. You receive a strange machine and a note that says, "This is a time machine, recreate the time machine and send the machine back in time to the day you received it, today." Bewildered, you set to work to recreate the time machine. When you are done and have tested it, you send the original machine and the note back in time to the day you received it. You didn't create the machine you received from yourself. Where did it come from? The one where you can decompose a sphere and end up with two spheres of the same size. Not mine, but I remember a similar question being asked and someone answered with this: "Me and my brother were going to the pool. He loudly screamed that the last one to jump in would be gay. He proceeded to beat me to it, but then I realized if I didn't jump in the pool, he would technically be the last one in, making him gay." The Homer Simpson paradox: could Jesus microwave a burrito so hot that he himself could not eat it? Removed. The paper message side A. The message on the other side is the truth side B. The message on the other side is a lie. Camus regards the absurd as a paradox. Humans are constantly driven to seek meaning in a world that doesn't appear to have any. The Galileo paradox: the sequence of square numbers 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, etc. clearly shows that there are a lot fewer square numbers than there are non-square numbers, as the distance between them gets increasingly longer. But any number can be multiplied by itself and the result of this multiplication is a square number. So it must also be true that there are at least as many square numbers than there are non-square numbers. This thread is a ton of people naming paradoxes without explaining what they are. Mine is probably Zeno's dichotomy paradox, although having a favorite paradox is a weird thing. This one is basically that to reach a certain distance you have to reach halfway first. So if the door is 10 meters away you first have to reach 5 meters, then after that 5 meters, then 25 and so on, which means you will never reach the door. The other one is the ship of Theseus, also known as Theseus's paradox. Sometimes also known as the axe paradox. The axe version is that if you are given an axe and replace the wooden handle, is it the same axe? What if you then replace the blade? How many times can you repeat this process before the axe is no longer the same axe? Alternatively, the ship paradox is similar in that if you replace every part of the ship, is it the same ship or a different ship, raises the question of identity. The cool thing about this is that your entire body is made up of a different set of cells every 7 years or so, as cells die. So can you really say you're the same person you were 7 years ago? The Song of Storms paradox from Ocarina of Time: you learn a song, the Song of Storms, from a guy who learned it from you when you were a kid, because you went back in time, after you learned from the guy as an adult, then to be the kid who taught the guy who taught you as an adult. Swiss cheese paradox: Swiss cheese, as we all know, has holes. Therefore, the more Swiss cheese you have, the more holes you have. However, the more holes you have, the less cheese you have because of it. In conclusion, the more cheese you have, the less cheese you have. Yes, I know it's a joke paradox. I still love it because how stupid it is. This sentence is false. The unexpected hanging: a judge tells a condemned prisoner that he will be hanged at noon on one weekday in the following week, but that the execution will be a surprise to the prisoner. He will not know the day of the hanging until the executioner knocks on his cell door at noon that day. Having reflected on his sentence, the prisoner draws the conclusion that he will escape from the hanging. His reasoning is in several parts. He begins by concluding that the surprise hanging can't be on Friday, as if he hasn't been hanged by Thursday, there is only one day left, and so it won't be a surprise if he's hanged on Friday. Since the judge's sentence stipulated that the hanging would be a surprise to him, he concludes it cannot occur on Friday. He then reasons that the surprise hanging cannot be on Thursday either, because Friday has already been eliminated, and if he hasn't been hanged by Wednesday noon, the hanging must occur on Thursday, making a Thursday hanging not a surprise either. By similar reasoning, he concludes that the hanging can also not occur on Wednesday, Tuesday or Monday. Joyfully he retires to his cell confident that the hanging will not occur at all. The next week, the executioner knocks on the prisoner's door at noon on Wednesday, which, despite all the above, was an utter surprise to him. Everything the judge said came true. Source: Bootstrap paradox. It's how an information sent back in time creates an endless loop, causing it to lose its point of origin. This was the idea behind the film Predestination. One of the famous lines in the film being, "What came first? The chicken or the egg?" I highly recommend this film to anyone who haven't seen it. Pinocchio says, "My nose will now grow, what happens? There is a smallest number that is not nameable in less than 18 syllables. But the smallest number not nameable in less than 18 syllables has 17 syllables and names the same number. Saving this post so that when I inevitably have to defeat a rogue eye that took over my facility and is on the verge of causing a nuclear meltdown and killing us all, I can use it to try and disable him." Russell's paradox: if S is the set of all sets which do not have themselves as members, is S a member of itself? I don't know if you can call it a paradox. It's labeled as Ronald Opus on Wikipedia. On March 23, 1994, a medical examiner viewed the body of Ronald Opus and concluded that he died from a gunshot wound of the head caused by a shotgun. Investigation to that point had revealed that the decedent had jumped from the top of a 10-story building with the intent to commit suicide. He left a note indicating his despondency. As he passed the 9th floor on the way down, his life was interrupted by a shotgun blast through a window, killing him instantly. Neither the shooter nor the decedent was aware that a safety net had been erected at the 8th floor level to protect some window washers, and that the decedent would most likely not have been able to complete his intent to commit suicide because of this. Ordinarily, a person who starts into motion the events with a suicide intent ultimately commits suicide even though the mechanism might be not what they intended. That he was shot on the way to certain death 9 stories below probably would not change his mode of death from suicide to homicide, but the fact that his suicide intent would not have been achieved under any circumstance caused the medical examiner to feel that he had homicide on his hands. Further investigation led to the discovery that the room on the 9th floor from whence the shotgun blast emanated was occupied by an elderly man and his wife. He was threatening her with the shotgun because of an interspousal spat and became so upset that he could not hold the shotgun straight. Therefore, when he pulled the trigger, he completely missed his wife, and the pellets went through the window, striking the decedent. When one intends to kill subject A but kills subject B in the attempt, one is guilty of the murder of subject B. The old man was confronted with this conclusion, but both he and his wife were adamant in stating that neither knew that the shotgun was loaded. It was the longtime habit of the old man to threaten his wife with an unloaded shotgun. He had no intent to murder her, therefore, the killing of the decedent appeared then to be accident. That is, the gun had been accidentally loaded. But further investigation turned up a witness that their son was seen loading the shotgun approximately 6 weeks prior to the fatal accident. That investigation showed that the mother, the old lady, had cut off her son's financial support, and her son, knowing the propensity of his father to use the shotgun threateningly, loaded the gun with the expectation that the father would shoot his mother. The case now becomes one of murder on the part of the son for the death of Ronald Opus. Now comes the exquisite twist. Further investigation revealed that the son, Ronald Opus himself, had become increasingly despondent over the failure of his attempt to get his mother murdered. This led him to jump off the 10-story building on March 23, only to be killed by a shotgun blast through a 9th-story window. The medical examiner closed the case as a suicide. Your mission is don't do this mission. My name is true. Does a set of all sets contain itself? He can only tell lies. How 0. 9 repeating is equal to 1. There's lots of different ways to prove it, but the simplest for me is this example, x equals 0. 9,999. Multiply it by 10, so 10x equals 9. 9,999. Subtract 1x from 10x or 9. 999. 0. 9,999. Which equals 9, so then 9x equals 9, simplify to x equals 1. I was in denial for a good bit when I first heard of this. I hope no one else has said this one, but you have a mountain of sand. You then take away 1 grain of sand, is it still a mountain? Yes. If you continue to take away grains of sand, until you have 1 grain of sand left, is it still a mountain? If not, when does it stop being a mountain? Sorry for bad formatting. On mobile. Good day Redditors. Fermi's paradox. Will you answer no to this question? Sven paradox. The Fermi paradox. It's basically about the existence of aliens and can be summed up as, 1. The Milky Way contains hundreds of billions of stars, and billions of them are similar to the Sun. 2. It is highly likely that some of these stars will have planets that are similar to Earth. 3. If we assume, via the Copernican principle, that Earth is not particularly special, then intelligent life should also exist on some fraction of these Earth-like planets. 4. Some of these intelligent life forms might develop advanced technology, and even interstellar travel. 5. Interstellar travel would take a long time, but as there are many Sun-like stars that are billions of years older, there has been plenty of time for such travel to have occurred. 6. Given all this, why haven't we met or seen any trace of aliens? Where is everybody?